Hey everybody, we're going to take a break from watching me get smashed, which is what normally happens, and we're going to look at a game that I'm actually pretty excited about, or technically two games. I have been playing some training games against a strong player, and I am, and for the first time ever, actually, I beat him, and didn't just beat him once, but I beat him 2 games in a row in the same line. Now, in his defense, he was playing white, so I should flip the board. Uh, he's playing an opening that I got to pick, so it's not his normal prep. So he's playing something he's a little bit unfamiliar with, so we got to give him that acknowledgement before we show how the game went. We agreed to start working on the Slav games. We're playing Slav games from the ChessGoals repertoire, which go like so. We're playing this triangle setup, and here we agreed to play a couple games in the Marshall. Again, full disclosure, I'm showing you games 2 and 3 of 3 that we played. The first game, it didn't go so well. I'll do a different video on that one. So we capture here, takes with a knight, and we give this check. And here he's going into the sort of the scariest lines, where we play with queen, takes, and then after knight takes, we develop out hitting the bishop, and this bishop f8 move, which just looks silly. But the point is we can't take it, and it's also not really a great way to defend the g7 pawn, so we have to counter. The way to do that is to play knight e7, and they capture now, and then knight to b5, and our point is that we're going to counterattack on one of these 2 squares. Now, there is another line that he could play here, so he chose to take the rook in both of these games. But it's perhaps better or trickier, or actually it ends up being kind of similar, but something you need to be aware of is this queen d6 idea before taking. He told me after the game that this is actually what he intended to play, and I'm kind of glad he didn't, because we don't actually cover this line in the ChessGoals course. So this is something I would have had to try to figure out over the board. And there are apparently 2 ways to go. We can give a check here, or we can give a check here. Now, I looked over these, and I think the knight d3 line is safer. They're probably both going to end up being a bit equalish in the end, but the point is we're going to end up going into an endgame. So we give this check, and the king must come out to d2, and then the point is we got this knight f5, and we're forking the bishop and the queen. And so there's only option is to take this knight. We capture back, they capture the king, and we take this knight. And we end up in a structure that's going to look a bit familiar when we look a little bit later in the game. But we have a situation with pretty equal material. We're probably going to play e5, get our bishop out, we'll castle this way, and we have a normal game. We can maybe play the g-file. I think it's hard to say who's better or worse. It's just a game. But instead, in both of the games we played, he opted to take the rook immediately. And our idea there is we're playing e5, and this lets this bishop come out, which is going to be very important in both of the games, this idea. It also shuts this bishop out from coming back, which is potentially useful as well. Now queen to d6. So it looks pretty similar to before. And again, we have a choice between knight c2 and knight d3. The big difference here, though, is that we don't actually have a choice, because knight d3 is just terrible. They can bring the king out, and it's not clear what we're going to do here. Okay, fine, let's take this pawn. But now just bishop f6, and we're in tremendous trouble. We can't really move the knight, because this is mate. So we can't go knight d2. So we play knight c2. And the king has to move out, which is not so great. I mean, it's the only move that was possible. And so from here, we bring this bishop out, and we're defending. We don't need to take the rook yet. And the point is that we're threatening to play a rook to d8 and taking advantage of this pin. So really the only decent move, or the best move, is to play knight g3, which kind of harasses our queen. And we drop our queen out here. And then king to c3 happens, and we take the rook. And this is the end of the ChessGoals repertoire. Now we just have a game. This is actually the second game, and I'll go back and show you the first game quickly, because it was a little bit faster. In the first game, white didn't play queen d6, which is the main move. Instead played f3, which turns out is a horrific blunder. The point is that we have knight c2, and okay, the best option is just to give up the queen, but after playing here, we have this check, giving up the knight, and so takes, and we have this check, and now we have an unstoppable mate. Queen blocks here, here, and here, and now there you go. You've seen my first ever win versus an IM with a small asterisk by it because he agreed to play this open. So as the game went, instead we end up in this position, which is the final position from the ChessGoals course, and it's the first time I've played this position. It's complicated, and I was honestly terrified of ever getting this because I don't know what's going on. Turns out it's probably harder to play for white than it is for black, which is good to hear, because white chose to play queen takes e5, which is immediately losing, although it's not apparent what the best way to do is. I found this position actually quite difficult. So the first move is a little bit obvious. We do not want to trade queens because we'll just be down a pawn for no particular good reason, and this king suddenly won't feel so stupid on c3 anymore. So the point, though, is if we try to trade queens, we're maybe going to lose this knight, so we need to do it with check. So we give this check, and then here, and this is where I started really going into the tank, because, trying to continue an attack, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, technically at least 5 different checks that I can give, and try to figure out what the repercussions of those are. And it turns out they're all winning. I didn't know that, of course, but it turns out they all are. I opted for this check, and expecting that queen coming out here would happen, at which point I intended to play a5, and then if we come here to a3, you can give knight c2, and I really wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen here, but say here, and then we're going to give this check, he'll take it, and then we have, it's not really clear exactly what we're going to do. Maybe queen f4 looks kind of nice. It's a tough position. It's certainly tough. But luckily I didn't have to go this way. Didn't play queen c3, which I thought was probably the most natural way to play this. Instead chose to play king to a4. And again, I had another big think. Because I wasn't sure what the right way to go. My main ideas were to play a6 or maybe a5. And hindsight, it turns out they're both winning, it turns out. But the point is, this bishop is hanging, though. And if this bishop falls, super attack here. So, for example, I did choose to play a6, which is the best move. If you capture here, well, then this is just check. And this is square taken. You can only go here. Because this square is taken, and this is just a checkmate. So you can't take the knight. So after a6, it's quite tough what to do. You can't take the bishop. There's no useful developing moves. It turns out the best move is to play here. A way that makes sense is to again drop this back. But the point is now I can play b5, and when they capture, I have options to take back with the rook. Queen to a3 is probably the best move here, but then knight c2, and king b3 is the only move, and then we can set up this discovery, and it's gonna be pretty well lights out. For example, let's say you try to play like this move, just trying to get something out. Well, we have this double check, which is quite nice, and then the king has to come out to b4, and we can go hunt it down. Probably about anything is good here. This check looks nice, comes out to this square, and where are we going to go from here? Knight to e6, and the king is, we're like right there. King to b6 is probably got to happen. If there's not a mate here, I quit chess. This is too much. There must be something here. Maybe. I guess we can capture here. My point is to try to come across. If you take with this, this is difficult. I can play c5, and the point is I'm going to come across to here, and I can bring my other knights in, and lots of trouble here. So anyway, Very, very complicated tactical game. This queen c3 resource, I'm kind of thankful it didn't play because it was tricky. And even though it was totally winning, might not have found the right way, to be perfectly honest with you. So then it shows c5. The point is that when I play b5, let's capture en passant. But now I cooked up this idea. Bishop to c2. I'm kind of happy with this plan because blocks with the knight is totally necessary. If you drop back, this is just mate, thanks to having c5 been played. The queen's not covering that square anymore. So here, and then we just take it. And you can't really take it back, because if you take it back, I'm going to play here. And you have to play king to b4, and then I'm going to take here. And after king to a5, well, this is mate again. Oops, sorry, not that. That's not mate, because the bishop covers it. We have, b6. And after it takes here, now we have queen to a3 mate. And the difference is that we took away this b3 square from, or sorry, b6 square from you. But anyway, you can't take it. And, but you also sort of have to take it. Because in the game, king a3 played, and I give this check, and you can't block with the queen. I mean, you can. You block with the queen, then this is just mate, because you're no longer defending c5. And so instead, played out to here, and then the pawn is mate. So ta-da! Two incredibly sort of nice tactical games, even though, if I'm perfectly honest, I didn't see all that all the way through. I was definitely playing it move by move and just with some ideas, and I didn't see clear ways of refuting what I was doing, but I knew that I needed to pursue an attack. I was kind of just playing blindly and just playing the kinds of moves that kind of made sense and seemed like they were threatening and continued the attack. I hope to work more on calculation later, because it would be really nice to have been able to calculate some of these lines out to the end. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoy these games and get something out of them, and get some confidence to hopefully play this line in your own game. I mean, if I did this well against, and I am in this line, and I really didn't know what I was doing ahead of time, I feel a lot more confident now to try to take this position over the board, and just at least have some ideas of what to expect and what we're looking at. One thing I did want to note is I've started collecting all the PGNs to the YouTube videos, and I'm putting them in a library on chess.com. There'll be a link in the description if you guys want to go check out all the analysis that I have for these games and take a look at the PGN yourselves. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.